It's the Bush League Mud Show. It's the Bush League Mud Show. Let's go.
Are you ready?
Make some noise!
Yo, what's going on? It is another edition, Slade.
PJ.
Back for another week. It is the Bush League Mud Show. We are literally starting the recording right now. We were about to start the recording, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, something told me to look on Twitter. That's just what I do. I kind of live on Twitter. I just kind of watch the action. I watch the circus around the world that goes, dude. And this news shows up. Already bad enough being a Chicago Cubs fan, being that we mortgaged off half the roster yesterday during the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We now get this news here. This literally just came about 5 minutes ago, right before we start to record, that WWE has come to terms on the release of Bray Wyatt.
What?
Yeah. Now this is a genuine organic reaction because PJ actually wanted to look it up.
Yeah.
And I said, no, brother, don't save it for the podcast. I didn't tell PJ. He's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm like,
I
save it for the podcast.
I didn't go on Twitter. I didn't do anything with my phone. I said, okay, so we just released one of the most over gimmicks we've had in the last 5 years.
Well, very cryptic messages that have been going on for the last couple of months settled. I think that a couple of episodes ago, we talked about there were fans that reached out to him, saying they missed him. He reciprocated it and spit it back out that he also missed the fans and didn't really say too much after that. Not really sure what he's been going through personally.
Yeah.
Now, one can only speculate, and I don't want to sit there and spitball on something that I honestly don't know too much about because I don't know what's going on with him behind closed doors. I do know that he and Offerman's daughter, Jose Offerman, or she was known as ring announcer JoJo.
JoJo, yeah.
Right, and I believe they just not too long ago had their second kid, was it?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so... phone's buzzing. I put this on silent. Our Twitters are going off right now because we put up a post on the Bush League Mud Show Twitter page right now. Bush League MS Pod is where you can also follow us on social media. Broadcasting here, Dizzy Course Studios in the dungeon. Producer Nate on the ones and twos.
I'm floored by this. I really am. I can't believe this one. The merch they were selling, everything that they were getting off of this guy in the pandemic era, they were selling mad merch. They were selling those customized Bray Wyatt belts for like, what was it, $1,200? And they were selling them
out, yes.
Wow.
I'm looking right now. I'm looking all over the place and I'm trying to find. I mean, this story just literally broke about 10 minutes ago. And Dave Meltzer is... Now, I originally first saw this from Sean Ross Sapp. I'm not saying that that's who's first, but that's where I... Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter just put WWE, quote, WWE screwed up like 4 different Bray Wyatt reinventions.
Well, yeah.
100% whole fact. That probably isn't the best place for him, and if he wants to continue wrestling, he'll have infinite opportunities. That's coming from Sean Ross Sapp. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer has just confirmed also that Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, has been released today. More to come. So right now, one can only speculate, but can't really speculate. We've never heard anything about issues with he in the front office. I mean, we can just watch the damn product and see that there's obviously philosophical differences when it comes to how the Fiend and before then the Bray Wyatt gimmick should have been portrayed. This is a guy who, the way that people talk about the whole Aleister Black situation with what our expectations were of Black and it not working out and people feeling bad about it and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just a rerun, yo. This is Bray Wyatt all over again. And Bray Wyatt was way more over than even Aleister Black. So this can't be too much of a shock.
Braun Strowman just hit Twitter. Adam Scher. Brother, I'm waiting, and they both have their arms out as a reunion of the Wyatt family. So I mean, wow, this is big. And this is the thing, too, is other wrestlers, like Cena came back last year to do what was wronged of Bray Wyatt a couple years ago by Wyatt not beating Cena at WrestleMania for the one in New Orleans. Was it 33? Not 30, but, at that one. So Cena came back, did the match last year, the Firefly Funhouse match, dropped all his filming during the pandemic to film this match. That's how much respect Bray Wyatt has with the roster. So for a guy like Cena to do that and say, yeah, I'll come back. We had fun, had creative, and he loved working with Bray. He mentioned how much respect he has for Bray Wyatt. So a guy that high in the company as well, there's, I'm going to guess, obviously the creative differences finally came to a head. And I am surprised by an outright release here. Now, obviously, probably the 90 days will be in effect, but Tony Khan,
or is it?
He wasn't part of the NXT thing unless they continued to NXT his contract when he was Husky Harris. I mean, if he was on this NXT contract the last 11 years.
This isn't something you see every single day. The verified Twitter account of the Nature Boy Ric Flair has just liked my tweet on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
The verified.
The verified.
The real man.
The real deal. Styling and profiling.
All
yes. Right. So, yeah, we don't know anything more besides that. Right now, we're getting this news in real time as we're doing the podcast. So, I guess we move on. I guess we'll just have to wait and see and find out the details. And for the next episode, we'll dive a little bit more into what this whole thing could have been about.
Yep, there it is. The official WWE tweets. WWE has come to terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in all of his future endeavors.
Do you really wish him the best? You wish him the best as long as he comes back and does business for you.
Dude, you talk about this is you.
Who knows how long they have been in talks about this? Who knows when he potentially could have came in and said, hey guys, this isn't working.
Yeah.
This is the vision that I had. And remember some of that also, this didn't just start with the Fiend, even with the Bray Wyatt gimmick. You know, he lost a supporter when Matt Hardy left the company as well.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy was trying pretty hard to come to creative and say, hey, we need to do right by this kid.
Well, they were trying to bury him when they were that tag team, and then the crowd was getting them over. They eventually made them tag team champs, but they were trying to bury those two at the time. And then, then they had, the Hardy compound match on WWE TV. They fought so hard to get that on when he was that first reincarnation of Bray Wyatt. And everyone hated the Mania match. No, I bet Bray hated that. Even though I've also heard Alexa Bliss has had a lot of kind of, inputs into the package character, deal. Are they just saying now that he transferred power to her, we don't need this kind of character too? I mean, just so many unanswered questions, but are we really surprised? Because again, they want us to forget everything that happened last week. Now, this is major.
All we can hope right now is that this whole thing was creative and philosophical driven.
Yeah.
At the very most. Like, hopefully it's nothing like personal
major,
with him that maybe he may be going, who knows? You never know what someone else is going through. But again, we'll just have to gather up the facts. We got an entire week to get our notes together. And by the next episode, once we get here to the dungeon, we'll be able to talk about it.
All right. Well, here we go. So the Dark Order now in AEW, it will be Bray Wyatt is your new leader, obviously taking over for Harper. And or Brody Lee, and now they can have Daniel Bryan in the Dark Order again, and it'll be a reincarnation of Bray of the Wyatt family, and they'll do it right,
getting the band back together
as well. And Strowman sounds like he's on board, so
well, they have an unofficial leader of the Dark Order. We'll get into that later and how they fared in their 10-man tag match on AEW Dynamite. We start off second week in a row as far as top news. Getting into it, we'll start off again with AEW, where Vince McMahon related, and Vince really ain't scared.
We better be after the news today.
Well, Vince says that the AEW WCW comparison isn't close, and it gathered some reactions from some of the former talent and people in the business. Now, this all came about with the Q2 earnings call for 2021 with investors. Mm-hmm. And Vince was asked about AEW during the call, and one of the callers noted that AEW seemed to be making some significant investments in the roster and that they were gaining some viewership. Now that we don't want to deceive this. We talked about this last week, and the numbers that TNT put out from last year, LY, they were up. Total viewership, I believe, was at 3%.
Yeah.
So not that much higher, but what we were saying was, is that the new norm, where is 3% considered phenomenal? Because people, what are the habits now? Mm-hmm. What if people created in terms of their new habits? Are people really sitting in front of a television watching live television like they used to?
No.
When you have avenues like DVR and streaming services and stuff like that. But anyways, the numbers are the numbers, and it's a plus. So they are gaining some viewership, especially in the 18 to 49 key demo that they talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the caller asked Vince how WWE is viewing AEW as competition, and if he feels like if the company needs to counter AEW in terms of what they're doing. And Vince said, quote, these are his comments. He said, quote, well, it certainly is not a situation where rising tides, because that was when Ted Turner was coming after us with all of Time Warner's assets as well, Vince responded, that it was a different situation. AEW is where they are. I don't know what their plans are, and all I know is what our plans are. I don't consider them competition the way that I would consider WCW back in the day, not anywhere close to that, and I'm not so sure what their investments are as so far as their talent is concerned, but perhaps we can give them some more. Now, with that line right there, that last line, Vince didn't go deep into that. He didn't elaborate or anything, and that was when Nick Khan, the president and chief revenue officer, he jumped in and chimed in with some additional comments about how WWE sees basically everything as competition, including sleep, which we can believe because Vince only sleeps about 3.5-4 hours every night. So now the initial impression that many got was that McMahon was on the investor call and he was, kind of joking around about, the company releasing more wrestlers for Khan to sign. But the take with wrestlers who have been in New York that have worked for Vince before didn't really take too kind to what they felt was a jab. Maria Kanellis-Bennett.
Well, again, she's had issues with the company. That's right. She fairly put it out there.
She's been there about 2 different stints. Yeah. Now, she was major over when she first came in.
Yes.
They, for whatever reason, cooled on her. She left the company, was gone for a long time. She spent time in ROH predominantly, which is how she met Mike Bennett, who's now her husband. They both came back. And boy, did they just butcher them at the very end, which made you're sitting there and you're watching what's happening with Maria and Mike Bennett, and you have stripped this man's manhood on a national TV show because she was pregnant. You had the whole thing, who's the father and this, that, and the other. And you do this angle after you had just locked him in for a new 5-year deal.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hits, and then they are released. They're part of those releases. But anyways, that was last April when she got released, and she's back working for Ring of Honor.
Yep.
And she said, quote, wow, to think of human beings as pawns on a chessboard. That must be one of the most elitist things I've heard in a while. I could never think of mothers, children, fathers, people in that way. People are people. Playing with people's lives is cruel. Carl Anderson.
I think we're getting a little deep into what Vince said there.
Yeah. Well, I'll have my comments here to say. But Carl Anderson, he was let go after WrestleMania 36 last year. That was after he and Gallows were part of the match with Styles and Taker, and then they're immediately released. But Carl Anderson says, quote, "The amount of unhappy texts I get from people there, well, the whole professional wrestling world is waiting for you." So according to Carl Anderson, he's still pretty friendly with a lot of people in the back room, and he's getting constant text messages and updates about what's going on there, and he's suggesting that there are a lot of unhappy campers there. Mm-hmm. So to get on this, there's so much to unravel here. First off, when it comes to the AEW WCW comparison.
Yeah.
For those that might have been offended because he called AEW is not anywhere near the competition as WCW, clearly this is a demographic and a generation of believers that did not, unfortunately, grow up during the Attitude Era to see the Monday Night Wars and what he means. Yeah. Now, you can go on the network and you can watch the Monday Night Wars. It doesn't, you can go back and watch it. It gives you a high for nostalgia. Mm-hmm. It's not like growing up when you were watching it, and it was must see. You're talking two promotions that combined were drawing at least 10 million a week.
Correct. And you were flipping back and forth every other segment. When they were on a commercial break, you were flipping there. And I think that's the other thing. The online fan community really wants another war, but this
and that's fine. And I'm all for it. I'm all for competition, but it's not.
It's not the same right now.
When we're getting excited because AEW is now over the last several weeks has drawn a little over 1 million, and that's cool for them. I think that's cool because I'll tell you what. When Impact was on national television, they weren't drawing those kind of viewers consistently for several plus weeks.
Yes.
ROH doesn't draw that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So ECW, well, during the Attitude Era, but that was very short-lived for ECW.
Yeah, it wasn't that much, I don't think.
Okay, so this is where the business is. Oh, we're excited because they're drawing a little over 1 million.
Yeah.
Nitro during the last few years where it was really bad, they were still pulling 3.5 million.
Yeah.
That were still tuning in to watch bad Nitro shows.
And they were losing money.
Okay. So this is a different time. So yes, from a comparison of that, absolutely, Vince is 100% right. Yes. He was also dealing with a billionaire mogul in Ted Turner who had love and affection as well for the wrestling business. They had dealings with in the past. There's always the famous calling up Vince. Hey, I'm in the wrestling business now. And Vince, well, I'm in the sports entertainment business. But anyways, you had a billionaire guy who owned networks around the country. He owned Turner, plenty of wherewithal to compete, and they did it. They bought up a ton of Vince's former talent that Vince didn't see was beneficial to him anymore. He wanted to go through a youth movement.
Yeah.
And Ted said, well, you do that youth movement thing. That's fine. Now, Vince also had to kind of let go of some assets as well because you were coming off the heels of the steroid trial.
Yes.
Which we'll get into that a little bit down the road because there's something that's in development involving that. But Ted Turner did the right thing at the time. He starts signing the familiar names, the Hogans, the Savages, the Mean Gene Okerlunds. He's signing, and that immediately gave WCW instant credibility jumping over. I mean, it was no longer looked at as your typical Southeastern region type territory that just so happened to have a time slot on the Super Station. No, you're like, oh my gosh, like these guys are for real. And they were doing very unexpected things. Luger showing up at the very first Nitro episode unannounced. Things like Rick Rude being on a taped Raw, but a live Nitro on the same night. They were pulling no punches. They were coming at Vince McMahon. The president has a podcast called 83 Weeks. Why? Because for 83 weeks, they were on top in the ratings.
Yeah.
So until AEW, now if they start drawing 1.5 million in twos,
they might start beating Raw soon.
Absolutely.
It might happen soon now.
Now, and it still won't be a comparison between them and WCW, but then we can start saying, okay.
But that's
Vince,
where I get to the second half of Vince's comment about, that, maybe we'll, give him some more of our guys kind of deal because, well, they did make them. They know they're stars because they saw them on WWE.
People have seen them on a national television platform on WWE
and
television.
That's the problem AEW has right now. You have some good talents, Darby Allin, Page, Hangman Page, and Jungle Boy. He could be up, but those homegrown talents now are going to start. It's just. They might start losing ground because now you've got the big names, and then they might start having the Turner factor. Turner wants to see the big names, and then the homegrown talent gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah,
and that's where I can understand where some of the past wrestlers are seen. Well, we're pawns and all that stuff, but he's got a point. He made you big, noticeable names on that product.
Or if you leave the company, you can go and get a nice booking on the indie scene or go to Japan, or you can, you've been seen on an international platform.
Yeah.
Well, the former president that we were talking about of WCW, Eric Bischoff, he was spitting out the same things that you were just pointing out. If anyone would know about a comparison between AEW and WCW events, and if anyone would know about how this thing works, and the whole ideal of signing Vince's former talents, it would be Eric Bischoff. He's been through it. He's seen this.
Yeah.
And Bischoff, he went on 83 weeks, and he went a little bit more in depth. Now, he's been, throwing some comments out there that some people have been critical about, as you would expect, about, well, Bischoff must hate AEW. I don't think he does at all.
No,
if that was
showing
the case,
up on events.
He wouldn't be showing up on there. Absolutely. So he went in depth of why he believes that the company bringing in too many of the ex-WWE talent, it could dilute some of their homegrown talent, as you just pointed out. And he said, quote, "This is not a criticism. This is an observation. In the last couple months, you've got Mark Henry, Christian Cage, Andrade, Big Show. You've got all this incredibly valuable talent, each in their own way. Sting, are they as valuable? The influx of all that talent, is Sting as valuable as a commodity as he would have been had there been more focus on Sting? In the case of Daniel Bryan and CM Punk both going to AEW, as we're reading about, that's an amazingly cool, great thing. To have them both come in at the same time, though, I think they each dilute each other, which is what you talked about in the last episode. You would keep them spaced apart as long as you can to create a bigger impact. You don't bring them in around the exact same time. You hold your cards and you throw them down the table when you're ready.
Yeah. Logically, I just think, for ratings and everything else, and just for developing stories and programs to keep people around, that's great. You pop a great number one week, but then where do you go from there?
Yeah. He says, here's the risk when you do that. What's going to happen to a lot of that younger homegrown talent that AEW started out with that people were so excited about? What was the excitement when AEW became a thing? We're going to be an alternate to WWE. I still hear that, by the way. That's a great goal, but be different then. I like it, but then when you start bringing in so many valuable top talents from WWE, what happens to your core? He says he continued to go on. He said there's only so much television time, folks. There's only so many minutes in an hour. Even if CM Punk and Daniel don't end up in AEW, there's still a lot of ex-WWE talent that are very valuable that are going to be taking up TV time from other younger, less experienced talent, and that's where the rift starts. Again, if anyone would know, it's Eric Bischoff. Why? Because he did that back in the day. He bought up high-profile talent from Vince to help build it. But underneath there, you had a Chris Jericho,
Correct.
You had an Eddie Guerrero.
You had a Rey Mysterio.
You had a Chris Benoit.
Yep.
You had a Dean Malenko. You had a Booker T. You had all these guys that ended up a majority becoming you had Hall of Fame talent, homegrown Hall of Fame. Now they weren't homegrown WCW, but these were guys that
first national TV exposure
absolutely
was there.
So you could say, okay, those are WCW guys. So you're giving Hogan, you're giving NWO, you're giving Savage, you're giving Sting, you're giving Luger, you're giving all these other guys so much television time, and you're making the other guys go out there have shorter matches, yeah. Or we're just not booking them over. We're not putting them in programs with the top guys.
Yes.
How do you make stars? In the professional wrestling industry, it's always been that way. You make stars by putting them against other top stars. They have plenty of top stars, but those top stars, some with creative control, some with particular incentives in their contract that kept them highest paid talent on the roster, guys that were not probably going to be willing to put the younger guys over. That was an issue that WCW ran into. And I think what Bischoff is trying to say is, for the experience, coming from an experience standpoint of him going through it and knowing the mistakes in hindsight of what did him in, he doesn't want to see that happen to AEW.
No. None of us do. We want them to do, this is great for the business. We want them to do well, but it is looking eerily similar now of how it was. And
we've seen it with Impact Wrestling too.
Yeah.
We saw it with Impact Wrestling. You had that whole time, you were constantly bringing in the Nashes, the Halls. You eventually brought in Bischoff. Yeah. You brought in Flair. You brought in Hogan.
Yeah.
You went out and you got Jeff Hardy. And as you should have gotten Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was leaving the company and there, but underneath that, you had an AJ Styles.
Correct.
You had a Samoa Joe.
Yes.
You had a lot of the Impact guys now that we're seeing in WWE. Those were guys that were on the roster at that time that they weren't being buried, but they also, it took a while for them. Kevin Nash once told me at a Comic-Con, he said, by that point of his career, when he got the TNA, he didn't understand. He had a different mindset. He knew he wasn't in his prime anymore. And when he came to Impact, he told them, you guys have got to stop booking me over in so many of these matches against I'm here to. He was the main guy that wanted to put Samoa Joe over. And they kept booking these matches where Nash was beating Joe. And he's like, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Doesn't make sense.
This is the future.
Yes. And don't think that Vince and his scouts or whatever don't have their eyes on some of those younger guys in AEW.
Absolutely.
MJF is probably, number one on that damn list.
Why? Because he's a Northeast New York guy. Grew up watching the product. And this is what happened in WCW.
Yes.
We will let them sign all of our talent.
Yes.
In exchange, just like WCW. Jericho eventually came to WWE.
Correct.
Guerrero came.
Yep.
All those guys that we just called off eventually ended up being Vince's, and it continued. That was the tide that changed with the companies.
Yeah.
Well, you keep our old guys. We'll take these young up-and-coming guys, and that will allow us to buy time and continue what we got going here, and eventually we'll win the ratings war.
Yeah.
And they won it, and they never looked back. They bought WCW.
And I know a lot of them are saying, we're happy to be on AEW. Tony Khan is the best, all that. But when
that's who's signing the paychecks right now. That's who's signing
the paycheck right now. When that contract is up, and I know Khan's got a lot of money or, whatever. But eventually, that... You can't spend all the money in the world and have everyone signed. Eventually, someone's going to come knocking. Either it's Shad, his dad, or whoever the investors. Maybe he's the main investor. I don't know how the structure is all set up. I'm assuming that, but eventually, there's going to be times where you can't keep everyone on the roster. So those guys, New York will swoop in and. Yeah, Adam Page, MJF. I'm sure when those contracts are coming near and done. They're going to have some talks with them. No
one is obviously going to admit this, but there's at least one, not maybe five, if not maybe 10, maybe 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who came to AEW. Yes, they're friends with whoever.
Yeah.
But they came because it was finally just their opportunity to get on national TV.
Yeah.
And their ultimate goal is to get to New York.
Correct. It is. It's just what it is.
They're not going to be able to keep everybody.
It's like
and there's going to be some talent there in AEW that's going to slip through the cracks and will end up in New York. Now, how they're booked once they get to WWE, I don't know. But there will be some eventually that slips through the cracks.
It's just like if a kid has a dream playing football or basketball, where do they want to go? NFL, NBA.
Now,
WWE.
The CFL thing, man, this is where it's at. It's not too bad up here in Canada. Making a maximum salary of $350,000 a year and
the Rock
body
did
through
for
the
a little
same
bit,
thing
right?
they do in the NFL. We just have a wider field, a little longer,
Exactly. Yeah.
3 downs. No, you want to play at the highest professional level.
Yeah.
This is no different.
No, it's no different. I mean, that's how people got to look at that concept. If they don't understand it, I mean, it is what it is right now.
Oh, well, they are doing some good things, right?
Yeah.
We have given some props the last several weeks. They've drawn over 1 million. As they should. There's no more NXT to deal with on Wednesday nights.
No.
They should be pulling these numbers.
And we are kind of in the dead period, but we've mentioned off air something, eventually here around the corner, there's no Wednesday night football, but I mean, that's going to start taking away here as we get to the fall. So right now, they got to capitalize. Yeah.
They are definitely doing it at the gates, at the ticket gates. 10,000 plus tickets already sold. I want to say at this, this morning, it was around about 12 or 13,000, but tickets already sold for the First Dance Rampage. It's going to be in Chicago. There was originally concerns that they were not going to be able to move tickets, dude. That's going to be their fourth show in Chicago during that time period. So they got 4 shows within a 3-week period. So they've got the All Out week that's going to begin with those 3 shows. You've got the Dynamite on September 1st, Rampage on September 3rd, and then the All Out pay-per-view on September 5th. So they're going to be
but again, I will say, like we said with the New York show at Arthur Ashe Stadium, I mean, it's good they're getting 22,000 in there. Here we are, market number 3. I know it's a lot of shows, but, if you want to be considered the big leagues, I mean, Chicago, fantastic wrestling town, and, they're proving it with their pocketbooks now. So, I mean, it is good that they're selling this.
Yeah, so the First Dance, they're doing the playoff of the Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls. They're doing it at the United Center. I'm actually excited. Okay. I mean, this is
big time.
My backyard is where I'm from.
As a Chicago guy, what the hell did WWE do to ever piss off the United Center? Because again, they never run the damn place.
I think honestly, what it came down to, I think it might have just been cheaper to run shows out of the Rosemont all those years out of the Allstate, because from what I remember as a kid, the United Center opened, the first event was SummerSlam 94.
Was it?
In Chicago at the United Center.
Okay.
And then they just never ran any more shows. Yeah. They came back a few years later for WrestleMania 13. But that was at the Rosemont.
Yes.
Absolutely. That was one of the last few arena WrestleManias.
Yeah.
Before they finally started going to the stadiums. So the fact that right now they're at about 40% of the venue's capacity, I think that's pretty good for a show that's going to be running. That's going to be the second Rampage show. That's going to be August 20th.
Okay.
So that'll be United Center. United Center is about 23.5. And people who have been wondering, can they sell it out? I think they will, because, again, it's one of those things. This is, right now for AEW, it's a first time for everything. You've got fans that want to be there to witness it.
Yeah.
They're going to Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York.
Yes.
They're going in Vince's backyard, regardless of what how Vince feels about them, whatever. They're still going to New York. They have a venue, Arthur Ashe. They're going to probably open up a little bit more to fit more people in there.
Yeah.
Will they come back to Arthur Ashe Stadium? I don't know, but until we know, this is the first time they're going, you got a lot of fans, a lot of AEW hardcores, just wrestling fans in general that say, oh, this ought to be a cool show. As long as it doesn't rain, it should be a phenomenal show. And I want to be there for it. Well, United Center, people know Vince hasn't run a show there in years, but AEW, they're saying, look, we've proven that we can do the now arena, or the former Sears Center, and we know that for sure that we can pack at least a good 7 or 8. Let's just shoot for the moon and get a good gauge and see where we really are. I think they probably will hit the 22, 23,000 because AEW's already showing if what Madison Square Garden in New York is to Vince, I think Chicago is going to become that for AEW, even though they got the football team and things. The operations are based out of Jacksonville. I think you're going to need a big market. So if Vince has New York, we'll take Chicago. LA's too far, but Chicago is kind of right there. And Chicago's a much better wrestling town than Los Angeles. Yeah, it is.
This is like Crockett, though, all over again, because Crockett would do that. They would go run shows in Chicago, try to get somewhat of a national, they were the Southern, I guess, territory, but they would go
got over
run.
Big time.
They would run the big shows in Chicago.
Especially when the Road Warriors were on the card.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of a...
2 Minnesota guys, they always build from Chicago.
From Chicago, imagine that.
We got to add a little edge to them.
So, I mean, it's just, it looks like a carbon copy of what they did in Crockett back in the day, but it worked. It worked, and it's working right now.
What else is working is AEW striking a deal with a card company that a lot of us grew up collecting from. And this is actually, some people might say, oh, well, big deal. I will tell you why this is a little bit of a big deal, and kudos to AEW. They struck a deal. They announced a multi-year deal, first edition of Upper Deck AEW trading cards. You heard that. Upper Deck and AEW. They have a multi-year exclusive licensing deal that cards are going to be made. It's going to be offering fans. Now, these are going to be released around November. And it's going to be offering fans and collectors autograph and memorabilia cards from AEW's most revered, as they have it here, most revered icons and talented performers, basically anybody on the roster. But this is huge because, cards are not of the same value as they were 20, 25, 30 plus years ago.
Correct.
But Upper Deck, that used to be a big deal. That was the expensive pack growing up. I always had the Dondras, or I had the Pro Set for the NFL, or I had, so many different, the Upper Deck.
Fleer.
Like if you want it, Fleer. If you want a pack of Upper Decks, those were the more expensive, and you were always pissed off with what you came away with because the cards were more intimate in terms of certain, like it was a big deal if you got a good card out of that pack. It was usually about 10 to 12 in a pack. Yep. But they ran you almost $5, maybe $6. My mom's like, I'm not buying that shit. You buy it with your own money. Yeah, you get now the Pro Sets I enjoyed for you're
getting Bowmans.
Yeah, the Bowmans. Yes. So this is the first time ever that Upper Deck is making professional wrestling trading cards. And I'm like, you're right. Now, get in where you can get in at right now. Wherever, if it's something of a name like Upper Deck, anything of that nature, if you're AEW, whenever Vince isn't, wherever they're not advertising, go there.
Well, I think
if it fits.
Yeah, I think their deal is with Topps. So, I mean, it makes sense for Upper Deck. Hey, we may as well work with the other company that's getting the names over.
Now, I will not be going out collecting these. I have not collected cards in years. The value of my card collection just went to hell once I hit high school.
But some of it is coming back now.
Some of them are. But
some.
I don't know.
No Griffey Jr. in that pack.
I never got a Griffey Jr. Yeah, never got a Griffey Jr., but that's what's going on.
I gotta ask, though, you know how they have the jersey cards with the little pieces on the card?
Okay.
Are we going to have a Kenny Omega card with a botched explosive on it?
Oh, you guys.
Are we going to have a
You're being a little too extra.
Are we going to have a Jericho card with the crash pad on it? Are we going to have a Brandy card just to have a Brandy card and she comes to ring with it?
There was no need for the extra sauce.
Yes, there was.
Now Brandy will probably get her own card.
You're damn right. It'll be like a Diamond King or something like that. Yeah.
Other business ventures outside the ring for AEW. Video game release date update. Current world champ Kenny Omega. He was recently interviewed with Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer radio show. And Omega, he went into an update on the game's development, which he has been helping oversee. And in regards to the game's release window, Omega, he talked about it. He went a little in depth. He said that right now AEW's plans is to hopefully get it out by next year. And he said he acknowledged they have not been able to commit to a solid date just in case. And I think, with the video game, I think it will come. I don't think they understood exactly probably the process of how long. I mean, it really takes a while when you're talking about developing a game, and he talked about how slow it's been so far as with the development. It hasn't gone as fast, but they are still hoping for a release date for next year. And he described how they've been working on the character models. And there was one that was released online of Darby Allin. And he said that with the character models, it's progressing, but still not anywhere close to 100% complete just yet. So he says slowly coming together, but they're excited and they're hoping they can get it out next year. So we'll see as far as that. AEW and the Jacksonville Jaguars, their football team that's owned by the father Shad Khan. They promoted a lawyer to general counsel, which is basically top lawyer. They promoted Lauren Strackbine to general counsel this month. And Strackbine, who joined the Jaguars as an associate general counsel in 2016, took on the new role after Cassie McBride was hired as an executive vice president general counsel for the National Hockey League San Jose Sharks.
All right.
Now, Strackbine's responsibility as general counsel is the franchise's day-to-day legal operations and overseeing transactions, risk management, and compliance for the club and its affiliates. This has to do with the Jaguars and AEW. Now, if that news bored you a little bit and you're wondering why I brought that up, it's because, well, you kind of need a general counsel to oversee shit like this.
Welcome to the job. You got to deal with this now.
When sponsors like Dominos are pissed off at you, Dominos reportedly not happy and has threatened to pull advertising following the pizza cutting spot with Jericho and Nick Gage. And you talked about this, and you said first off, we talked about the network.
Yeah.
How much with this match?
Yep.
How much leeway is Turner going to give them? Well, they went all out, about as all out as you could for national television. But then we said, all right, sponsorships, advertisers. Yeah. How is that going to go?
Yeah. That's 2 weeks in a row. You've had kind of graphic matches. I mean, we saw the week before guys stabbing each other with forks. And now with this horse shit this past
Nate's
Wednesday
just
night.
cracking up. Nate's losing his shit over here.
We have the pizza.
Prison shanks next.
Well, that's basically what it is. Real
Dynamite turned into an episode of Oz.
No, yeah. I mean, it was bound to happen. It just, I know you want to give the hardcore wrestling fan in their mom's basement something to pop for, but it's going to come at a cost, and here's the cost.
Some of them might just be upstairs on mom's couch. They're not all
they
in
might
the
be
basement.
upstairs. Yeah, they're actually upstairs in the attic.
Yeah, so
Shit.
This is how it went down, and we have the scene, and we'll get into it a little bit more when we go through our AEW Dynamite review, but there's Jericho. He's grimacing from the pizza cutter attack. The broadcast cuts to a picture-in-picture commercial break. So we've got the match still going on in one corner.
Yeah.
Commercials going on in the other. what are the odds of this being a perfect breeze of timing where we have Jericho being carved in the forehead with a pizza cutter as a Domino's spot?
Well, this
plays on the other side.
This is all on production. As we know, you know what commercial is coming up. You see it on your log. You know what is coming up. It's not part of the run sheet. They know this.
I will say as a fan, as I'm watching this, I'm laughing my ass off. It was comical. It was because I figured something like that was going to happen. They kept nonstop over the last couple of weeks showing Nick Gage with the pizza cutter. And we even talked about it before Dynamite. Remember, I joked, I said we should order pizza.
You did.
And we should post photos of us eating pizza watching this match. And then what are the odds of a Domino's commercial in the picture-in-picture? There's no way that was just a coincidence. No way.
No.
It was the first ad that ran during the picture-in-picture.
It's just
I wasn't.
It was a spot that wasn't neat. That's the
PJ's PJ's sour about it, but I laugh. Many other wrestling fans got a laugh out of it as well. They took to Twitter to talk about it. Domino's, of course, didn't find the sequence very funny at all. As I mentioned before, they threatened to pull some ads. Nick Gage actually took to Twitter earlier in the week, and he apologized to Domino's.
Well, you're damn right, because he's never had to deal with a national sponsor before.
Correct.
Think of that horse shit. You have a non-contract AEW wrestler. That's where I would be pissed.
He has no skin in the game.
He's got no skin in the game. He don't give a shit. He's trying to get his name over.
Jericho's skin was on his pizza cutter, though.
Yeah.
He said in regards to Domino's Pizza that he apologized and said, "My bad." Now, one person who didn't give a damn about how Domino's Pizza felt was Jon Moxley.
Well, he better start because...
And I was a little surprised because for a guy who wrestled for Vince, where they are so cautious when it comes to their advertisers, because Vince has spent many years trying to get particular advertisers on board. He's got them now, and unfortunately, that's why you probably have scripted promos. That's why you have this lollygag PG BS that we see on the product every single week. Jon Moxley applauded the match. Said that he thought it was a very awesome match between Gage and Jericho, but when it came to Domino's, he said, quote, "Domino's Pizza needs to chill out."
Oh, not good.
They need to chill, man. It was a coincidence.
He's going to learn that, yes, Tony Khan has a lot of money, but it's nice to have a national TV contract, because if you piss off sponsors, you do not have a national TV contract, and Tony Khan's money then will have to pay for TV time to keep your asses in the limelight. Not a good take.
Moxley saying also, he added, quote, "You know what? Jump on the bandwagon, man. You don't think Nick Gage can sell some pizzas for you?
No.
Come on. You know what? The Noid is played out at this point, and you're bringing the Noid? Come on."
The Noid is over. Nick Gage is not.
So
that's not a good take to have. I'm sorry. That's just...
Well, there's more to this, because apparently, according to sources...
Oh, God. Is Papa John scooping in now to get some Shaq money in
we
this?
will get into that in a little bit. We will get into that. There is something kind of similar. But there are multiple reports, dude, that... allegedly, WWE attempted to get AEW in hot water after the match.
Are they the ones who reported them?
Well, the first report from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter states that there was a concerted campaign to contact AEW sponsors to alert them about the content of the match. Meltzer also wrote that Domino's, major sponsor of TNT and Warner Programming, it was a serious issue. There was a concerted campaign to contact sponsors, but at press time, Domino's was the only one that has reacted to the match. Several hours later, Voice of Wrestling said that they, WWE, had been calling journalists to convince them to pick up on the story. Voice of Wrestling tweeted the following in response to what Meltzer reported and said they have been calling journalists in hopes that the story picks up steam. So far, it hasn't. Domino's seems to be the only advertiser so far that's pretty upset. But at this point, no one's actually pulled their money off the table as far as we know. So,
well,
in response, in response to the pizza chain's concern over the incident, Domino's, good old PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, has now offered to take Domino's ad spots on TNT. PBR's official Twitter handle wrote, "Yo," at AEW on TNT, "let us get those spots."
PBR hasn't had a TV spot in 30 years.
So PBR is clearly trolling, because in another tweet, PBR posted a picture of a pizza cutter and tagged Nick Gage and AEW. And then they also sent out a DM to Tony Khan about it. Now, to be fair, PBR, their Twitter, they troll a lot. They poke fun at other brands. Now, they also were live tweeting during the Matt Cardona Nick Gage death match from last weekend. So they're big fans of Cardona. They're fans of GCW and deathmatch wrestling. So there you go.
They're interns.
Now you can go ahead and finish out your comments and your thoughts on the whole Domino's AEW thing with the pizza.
Well, where New York, now I don't agree with them calling out journalists and telling them, hey, pick up the story. But
that's a bitch move.
But I can see where they have a little concern because it is wrestling. Who do you think
Vince does sports entertainment, buddy.
But
he does sports entertainment.
Normal guy, you walk up to the street.
What
do they say? You say wrestling. What comes to mind? WWF, WWE. Oh, did you see this horse shit the other day? Whoa, they're going to automatically think it's them.
I'm with, and I understand.
I mean, that's where I could see where New York's getting a little like, okay, wrestling we're known for, even though, the common person calls it wrestling. We know it's, this horse shit that they're putting out there right now. But to the common fan, I'm sure they're like, oh, fuck.
Didn't Vince once refer to AEW in a investor call like a year and a half ago as like blood and guts? Did he? Was it something?
Well, is that why they named the match after that? I bet it was, because Jericho always does that to trolls. So I'm sure that's what it was.
If you're Domino's, now I understand where Domino's is coming from because the picture-in-picture comes up. You just so happen to have that going on. Yeah. Jericho getting his fucking head carved in, and you've got a Domino's that is the first spot.
Yeah,
you don't, as Domino's, you don't want people to think that you're
associated with that shit.
That you specifically. That was done on your part.
Yeah.
Hey, when this spot is going on, we want our ads playing. You don't want people to think that you had stamped your name on that spot and that you had been a part of coercing this picture-in-picture where you're the first. Like, you don't want people thinking that you have anything to do with that in that nature. Like, you sponsored a spot, basically.
But I want I'm thinking about this now, about the two guys in the ring, though. They know what spot they're going to run in the break spot. They know. They did this on purpose. Now, again, the timing of what, I don't know if anyone in the truck tells any of the boys. Obviously, they don't give a shit what commercials are coming or not. But they know this spot is coming.
There is an order. An order. We're radio guys. We have a traffic department.
Yeah.
Ads are played in a particular order for a particular reason. You try and separate different brands, different industries. You try... You configure spot breaks a certain way.
Yeah.
So TV is no different. So their spot list was already set.
Yeah. Now, that's why I'm like, well, the guys in the ring know they're doing that spot because you have spot breaks in the ring. They know that. That's why the guy rolls out of the ring and, we'll be back. And then
the ref gives them the cue. The ref gives them the cue to let them know.
They knew it was coming. That's where I throw all this on the truck. It's like, you guys know this is... That's where you got to call the audible and say, hey, don't do the pizza spot yet. Let's wait till we get back from break. And then maybe we do it. You go for it. But just hang a little bit on that. Then we'll do it. And now, we got all this going on. So I don't know if I'm hungry for pizza ever again. I mean, who's going to be next? Like, Philips light bulbs should be pissed off too, though, because we had all that going on. And... I don't know.
Let's get into our quick AEW Dynamite review from this past week. This was Fight for the Fallen. This show kicks off. We get the 10-man tag. Adam Page in the Dark Order versus the Elite. Stipulation in this match is if Page and the Dark Order, if they are victorious, then Dark Order will send a tag team that will get tag team title shots, and Page will get his world title shot at All Out versus Kenny Omega. So we get an opening video, an intro of Adam Page in the Dark Order. Now, I am not a big Dark Order guy. Yeah. They still don't have much credibility with me. It's basically been made into a goof tribe, and they're getting their rub with Adam Page. They're getting a rub.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And this video was very well done. I thought it for a moment that it was Sam Elliott who was voicing this. It had that type of feel to it, and it was very well done. They come out to the entrance, and this is where I'm like, okay, so is Page in the Dark Order or not? He's turned down their advances over the last 6 months, but yet he messes with them. He comes out, he wrestles with them. He comes out to save the day. They come out and save the day with him. And it's like, all right, so they come out. Pretty cool entrance. It got a nice little pop. They come out. And then the good feel-good moment got ruined when we got the intro of the opponents with the Elite. They come out in jerseys that are very similar to those in Space Jam, and I immediately thought, okay, well, this is clearly cross-promotion. The guys are coming out with basketballs. It's Turner, it's Warner Brothers, Space Jam 2,
Max.
HBO Max. So we're giving that the rub, but every one of them just came off just looking like dorks. I couldn't even take it seriously. It was just, I didn't really care for their entrance.
Nope.
They could barely dribble the basketball, so you could tell they're not basketball players at all.
No.
Brandon Cutler coming out with his camera and with a basket. It was just really silly. And look, if they were looking to come across that way, great. You did a great job. You came out looking like dorks. Anyways, we get into the match, and this match appears to want to start off with Page and Omega. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't want to see these guys touch yet. They're going to meet it all out. Let's try and keep them apart. Omega, he rolls out. Yeah. So it's like, okay, cool. You do the chicken shit heel thing, but then he comes back with a sneak attack. So off we go. Hell breaks loose. This was just an absolute spot fest.
I didn't understand it either. If you're in a spot
match wrestling, then this is the match for you. What's that?
I didn't know it was like a Survivor Series match where guys were getting eliminated. I thought it was we were going to have one. So when they went for the pinfall, I'm like, oh, this is going to be done quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait, he's eliminated? Oh, okay, we're doing that.
Yeah, we got all hell breaking loose, and this became, as I said before, a big bang bang spot fest.
Yep.
We had a suplex off the top rope,
which JR
onto everybody. You
called
could tell
affectionately.
JR was not a fan of this at all.
No, he wasn't. You can tell that.
We get Alex Reynolds, who's the first that gets eliminated. He gets rolled up by Carl Anderson.
Dangerous
move. The most dangerous move in professional wrestling. Carl Anderson pulls the tights, gets the 1, 2, 3. Then Anderson gets beat up after the Dark Order realizes this guy cheated. So they beat him up, get him eliminated. Then we move on. We've got Doc Gallows and Stu Grayson going at it. They're brawling on the staging area. They get counted out. So now both those guys are eliminated. We get this silly face-off, and look, say what you want about Omega. I could never find Evil Uno ever credible to being in the ring with Kenny Omega at the same time for any type of a match. Well, this ended quick. One-winged angel on Evil Uno. He's done.
Yep.
We get a spot on the outside. The Young Bucks, they powerbomb Adam Hangman Page. While John Silver, who is returning, he had been hurt there for a couple of months out of action. He enters, gets a nice pop, gets a big pop from the crowd, and he's, of course, on fire until we all of a sudden get a spot where we get an actual basketball hoop. Where it came from, how did it magically appear? Was it under the ring? Where was it?
Well, they had it ringside because when they were coming
I guess
down,
I wasn't paying attention to it.
When they were coming down for the introduction, they were shooting the ball in the hoop. So it was there, and right when I saw when they were coming out for the introduction, I'm like, that's going to get used. And sure enough,
we have the Bucks proceeding to give a Meltzer driver through the hoop with Silver. Nick Jackson has a ball. He was supposed to dunk it. It was a fail. Anyway, Silver gets eliminated. We get back. Now it's the Dark Order. They're all done, and there's only one left, and that's Adam Hangman Page. And he's facing off. He's on the outside of the ropes, and inside the ring are his three former friends in Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Action picks up. Bunch of near falls. This leads to Matt Jackson eventually being eliminated. Fast forward a little bit, Kenny Omega plows the belt into the back of the head of Hangman Page, and you're thinking, okay, it's not going to end like that. Page is going to come back. No, we got a V-triggered and a one-winged angel. 1, 2, 3. Page no longer the number one contender for the AEW title, and I saved this story for after we give our reviews of this match, because as reported of yesterday, Hangman Adam Page has reportedly been nixed from plans for the AEW All Out main event.
Why?
Well, the plan at one point, according to this, was for the two to have the match, but those have changed according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Apparently, Wednesday's Fight for the Fallen, AEW Dynamite, that the way that it ended, it was done on purpose. It was
dumb.
The Observer says the match was designed to shock fans due to AEW moving away from that match. So
terrible.
Apparently, they went into this match knowing that they were going to throw this out for the time being. Now, it's going to happen at some point. They're just going to hold off a little bit and not have it be at All Out. And maybe it has to do with Punk or Daniel Bryan.
Mistake.
But
this is what we've been talking about.
They went into this match and had that finish in mind, because this had apparently already been decided before the show that Page was not going to be facing Omega at All Out.
This goes back to what we were talking about. Build up your young talent. So now if you're just giving that spot to Punk and be the big surprise of the championship match, you just killed Adam Page. I don't care.
I don't think you did.
I think you did. I think you did here.
I don't mind if we're gonna get to the destination. I guess for me, as long as you don't drag it out too long, I don't really care how you get there, as long as you just get me to the obvious destination, because Page is going to have to be the one that's going to have to get the belt off Omega, and who knows what they have planned at this point for All Out.
You're going to put Omega over CM Punk.
Well, I don't know if CM Punk is going to necessarily. I think that would be an absolute mistake day one to immediately thrust Bryan Danielson or CM Punk into the world title picture.
This is not how you do this. Look at those fan reactions that Hangman is getting. We have been waiting for this for like 2 years. I know Omega has become the champion. He's been the championship since November, December. But those crowds are loving Hangman. It is time. You've had heel champions in this company now. I mean, Moxley was the first face, but I mean, it's Hangman. I'm convinced it's his time now. And by doing this, I think you're killing him off now. So New York calls and he's there. I mean, that's where I would be at.
After the 10-man match, we go backstage where Pac is being interviewed by Alex Marvez. And he's really upset because someone canceled Penta and Phoenix's ride from the airport.
Oh, my God.
In walks in Andrade, who says that they will be there. He got them a limo. So we're continuing that storyline. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
We then go off to the celebration of Ricky Starks and Team Taz. There was no Will Hobbs, no word on what was going on, why Will Hobbs was not there, but we got a New Orleans Mardi Gras style celebration entrance set up for Ricky Starks. We get a band out there that's playing. Starks is coming out. There's women kissing him on the cheek. The guy oozes charisma.
Yeah.
He is a guy that they definitely need to have some plans for the future.
Yes.
I know he said that he has turned down WWE and they only called him when it was convenient for them and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
Money talks, bullshit walks. Ricky Starks, if he's not unfortunately getting his just due in AEW, the big money is in New York.
Yeah,
and I think you got a lot of fans that would not mind seeing Ricky Starks in New York until they start actually booking him.
Correct.
But anyways, as mentioned before, there's no Hobbs. Starks gets in the ring. He cuts a promo on Brian Cage about how he's a goof. He lacks charisma, says that when he broke his neck, Brian Cage not one time ever reached out to him, never came to see him. And so at this point, Cage shows up and did exactly what we knew he would do, and that is destroy the celebration, destroy the set, beat up some of the band members. Starks runs off. End scene. Do you care about Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Team Taz?
I care about Ricky Starks. I don't care about this match and this goddamn belt. This belt it means nothing.
The ATW or the FTW
belt
title
means absolutely nothing to anyone except for Taz and Paul Heyman.
Does Paul Heyman even care about it?
Not now. I mean, but back then, I mean, when he was getting it over with ECW, it's nothing. It's not even. We're having a celebration for belts that aren't even affiliated with that company.
Our next scene, we get a Tony Khan announcement. It has to do with the IWGP United States title that Lance Archer won the week before in the Texas Death Match with Jon Moxley. We get a video. And who appears on the video? It is Hiroshi Tanahashi of New Japan Pro Wrestling, who says that he's got the winner. He's calling dibs of the upcoming Lance Archer Hikuleo match for the IWGP US title match that was going to be happening later on that night. And fans got excited because they figured that Tanahashi, one of the best to do it ever, is going to be coming to AEW. He said, oh, no. I ain't coming there, brother.
Nope.
The winner is coming here to Japan.
Because it is
a New Japan
belt.
title. I told you this is probably most likely why they have to get the belt off Moxley onto Archer, because Archer is probably more mobile right now.
Yes.
He can travel over there and defend it. Moxley just had his daughter.
Yeah.
With Renee.
Yeah.
And he's had it long enough. Moxley, the original plan, was probably for Kenta to win it from him at some point last year. Pandemic, that interfered in traveling, and there you go. Moxley's had it for almost 2 years, you could say.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. They want their
How
damn
long was it
belt
that when he won that after he had left Vince?
Within like 2 months, I think.
It was pretty quick. So there you go. So New Japan probably said, hey, we want our belt back, and we want our belt defended on our soil.
Yep.
And
we can profit off of it. That's what belts are for.
Well, they're doing shows now, and they're, limited in belts. They're all floating all over the world. They want their belt back. They want something to kind of prop to kind of help draw and build storylines around.
Well, we even saw the story with the Olympics even going on where they can't have anybody in the crowd. The hottest ticket in town is Tokyo Dome wrestling shows.
Pro wrestling, absolutely. We get to the match that I was looking forward to, and I probably should have known better, being that it came on as early as it did. We've got FTR finally versus Santana and Ortiz.
Yes.
Good match for what it was. Wheeler looks like he was seriously injured in this match, and which that's not a good thing. So that when things like this happen, that's when you're glad that they're actually in a faction and they're not just a tag team. So at least with them being in the Pinnacle, hopefully Wheeler's not going to be out for a significant amount of time. But if he is, at least Harwood can still roll with the Pinnacle crew and do
you can still film segments and all that.
But if they were a tag team, I mean, this would be very detrimental to them. But Harwood, he ended up grabbing Ortiz in this match. We're really fast forwarding. He hits Ortiz with a brain buster for the 1-2-3. Solid match. It could have went a little longer. I just thought, dude, it kind of felt a little unfulfilling, being that we had spent all this time promotionally leading up to the match, cutting these video promos of both teams and the story behind it just to give us that.
That's where
I don't know. Maybe if that was an audible that was called because Wheeler got hurt. I don't know. But it still didn't make me feel any better about the situation.
Well, like you said, the match placement sucked. This should have been the main event of match, and AEW was all about promoting tag team wrestling.
Well,
but you had that garbage match at the end.
We knew what the main event was going to be.
That garbage match should not have been at the end. You had this. AEW said we're about tag team wrestling. This was a premier tag team match that everyone wanted to see. They had a fantastic build. I forgot this is the first time these two teams have ever been in the ring. I thought they met sometime last summer. They didn't. And this should have been in the main event. Two great teams, but we had to watch that horse shit. And that's where I get mad, because these are four guys that deserved a main event. They did. Not a non-promotional AEW guy coming in to cut a guy who's trying to get over with younger fans and deathmatch fans with a goddamn pizza cutter.
I must note, because this is all audio, PJ's actually turning red as he's going
I am, because these guys, the four guys, deserved a main event spot, and we had to put up with what we saw.
You want to talk about mad, the nerve of you. You're not the one whose baseball team traded their three top stars in the same day within 2 hours yesterday.
You wanted that, though. If we're going to go there, I thought that's what you wanted.
We still have Jason Hayward's over-bloated ass contract on the books, though. He went into that game last night with a batting average of 198. And then he proceeded to pop up.
Remember 2016.
Anyways, moving on. We get backstage interview. Britt Baker, who's back there with Rebel and Tony Schiavone. She says that everybody is coming for her and she needs protection. What are you thinking? Who's going to be her bodyguard or guards?
Do they bring Awesome Kong back? I mean, I know they released her, but do they bring her back?
Do we bring in the Iconics and just have a goof troop security type of...
Well, Britt's injured right now, so I mean, they've got to...
Right, the broken wrist.
They've got to, give her a little time here to heal up. So
you think it should be a credible badass, without a doubt, someone who can fight her fights for her.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, in a Rebel, she obviously with Rebel with the leg injury too. I mean, they're hurting units, so yeah, I think they got to bring in someone, big badass. Maybe there's a turn where she, pays Nyla Rose off or something, and Nyla Rose is her badass bodyguard. I don't know, something along the lines of that.
After this, we get Tony Schiavone in the ring to make an announcement. Now, we thought Tony Khan was going to be making this announcement. It ended up being the other Tony Schiavone, who makes the announcement that Rampage, the second episode, is going to be coming to the United Center in Chicago August 20th for the first dance. That proceeds to go backstage where Darby Allin and Sting appear. Sting doesn't really say much. Darby does all the talking. He cuts a promo and says that everybody wants to come to AEW, but it doesn't matter who you are. You have to prove yourself. And then he paused and he said, even if you're the best in the world. And that, of course, lit off CM Punk chants.
Why would we have Sting into that?
Why would we have what?
Sting was saying, now read, because
Darby cut the promo.
Darby cut the promo. Okay. That, I guess that, but
we're setting up CM Punk versus Darby Allin, apparently.
Why?
If that didn't tell you that CM Punk, that this is all but a done deal, then...
But then why would... But then the Omega thing makes no sense. If we're... I don't know.
You can't bring Punk in immediately and thrust him into the world title picture.
Then what are we doing? What are we doing with that belt then at All In? That's why the top of the show didn't make any sense if he's cutting a promo like that in the middle of the show.
Who's to say Omega even defends it at All Out?
You've got to, though. That would be the draw. If you're bringing him in, he's got to.
I think there's a good chance, and it may not even end up being the main event, but I think there's a good chance that Omega probably defends his belt. I could see it being against someone like Christian. I could see
that we don't want that. We just That I know they've been building that one too, but it just look how
which
they
I don't
brought
mind as
people-
long as he's not associated with the Jurassic Express, which he has been for several weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look how they've brought people in, though, and they've had a problem bringing people in and making an impact right away. Here's Big Show. I'm going to go talk on the YouTube show. Here's Mark Henry. I'm going to talk and be a commentator on the Friday night show. We got a big surprise coming up at the pay-per-view. Tune in. It's Christian Gage. 30 seconds, get your ass off the stage. You've got to bring these guys in and have an impact right away because they have dropped the ball 3 times now on the big surprise. That's why I'm saying, I guess if we're doing the Omega thing, you've got to have, it's got to be Punk or Danielson, and they've got to be the surprise at it. You've got to make an impact with this one.
My phone has just went off to alert me once again, as if I didn't know yesterday that the Cubs traded Chris Bryant to the San Francisco Giants.
Congratulations. There you go. You got all these young prospects coming up, just like AEW.
We get to match the IWGP United States title. Hikuleo, who comes out with his pops.
Yes, it was great to see him.
King Haku.
Yes.
And for anyone that is of a certain age that didn't grow up watching Meng or Haku, whichever one you wanted to call him, this guy's the real fucking deal.
Yes,
you hear stories about this guy. You don't want to fuck with Haku.
The Tongan death grip is a legit move.
Well, speaking of which, this ended up being a solid big man match between Hikuleo and Lance Archer. Pretty quick, big time moves. We even got a spot on the outside where Haku put the Tongan death grip on Archer and put him down for a bit. And for some people that said even, because Haku's, he's older. Mm-hmm. Some people said, well, this is incredible. Sure it is.
Yeah, it is.
Even at this age,
Haku
right is someone you don't want to fuck with.
No, he's not.
So this was a very credible move.
Yes.
Eventually, Archer was able to rebound. He hit Hikuleo with the blackout 1, 2, 3. He wins to retain the IWGP United States title, and he will be the one that will be facing Tanahashi. Now, whether or not this is going to be a televised match here in the States, that we don't know.
Well, on pay-per-view, it will be for New Japan. I think that's what it's got to be. I don't think AEW is going to get credit for this one. It's not going to be part of the AEW broadcast. I think it'll be a New Japan card and show.
We then get Aleister Black. Cody Rhodes is in the back. He's having an interview, and he's giving the rah-rah crap that we're so accustomed to hearing from Cody. And Malachi Black just completely destroyed Rhodes, and this got one of the biggest pops of the night. He's over.
He's over. He's a face. I know you tried to make him a heel. He's not. That was the problem we all saw in this when he made the first attack. They were cheering for it.
The action proceeds to come out. He drags Cody out to the delight of the fans in attendance. And we get some security and everybody and their mom trying to break this whole thing up and get him off Cody. And all of a sudden, there's just like this damn machine gun of roundhouse black mass kicks to everybody. You get one, and you get one, and you get one. One of the actually cool things of the night that I saw on this card. We then got Miro. Miro was in the back. He does a little teaser to announce his defense against Lee Johnson.
I was going to say, he's still TNT champion. He is really, title. He did a great job getting that belt on him, I guess, promoting him. It's been eerily quiet. I forgot he was the TNT champion. We haven't seen him in a while. He's done the backstage stuff, but he's been a quiet champion until now.
Well, get ready for it. Miro versus Lee Johnson next week. All right.
Butts and
TNT
seats.
title. After that, we get our match of Christian along with the Jurassic Express versus Matt Hardy's henchman, the Private Party, and Angelico. This match starts off. Hardy gets a lot of interference in, but then he is chased away by Christian and Marco Stunt.
Oh, God.
Who's running away from Marco Stunt in real life?
No one.
Basically, this match ends. We get 3 moves in sequence between Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus to Mark Quinn, and they get the win for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, we get the Blade, who appears with his brass knuckles and hits Christian. I assumed they might want to take a little break from the brass knuckles thing, being that it didn't work out against Orange Cassidy, but apparently we're going into a Blade Christian.
And Orange Cassidy kept his knuckles from last week. So I guess he went to the brass knuckle store and got
he went to the pawn shop and he got a new pair. Yeah. We then afterwards, we get a video of Nick Gage promoting the death match that he's going to have with Jericho. You would have thought that Nick Gage, based on this promo, would want to behead Jericho. And during the match, it kind of seems like he tried. After that, we get our match serving its rightful purpose. We had Julia Hart versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is now 100% all elite. She is on the roster. I thought Hart got a little too much offense in. Yeah. Thunder Rosa is the experienced veteran. And but I thought that it wasn't a bad match. Thunder Rosa, she helped her along in the match, and it served its purpose. Thunder Rosa won, and we know Thunder Rosa is going to be eventually coming after the AEW Women's title.
Yep, after Baker. I mean, yeah.
So there you go. Unfinished business.
Yes.
We get Jon Moxley backstage. He cuts a promo. He talks about how he's upset losing the IWGP United States title to Lance Archer, and says that he wants Tanahashi potentially for All Out. So Moxley, I guess, is calling his shot that he thinks that Tanahashi will beat Archer whenever that will be, and he wants Tanahashi at All Out. I don't know.
Obviously, it's going to be in the next month. So then, yeah, to have the All Out match, I guess we're wrapping this program up in a month.
Well, we're going to wrap up this AEW review with our main event of the evening. Chris Jericho coming out as the Painmaker versus Nick Gage. This was a part of the second labor of Jericho through MJF, who was on commentary. Did an awesome job, by the way. I will say this. I know that you were not, you couldn't even bring yourself to watching the entire match.
Not the whole thing.
PJ went full Heath Slater last week, ladies and gentlemen, and said, I can't be having my kids.
So I know my kids
watching. Well, yes,
and you know my kids.
Your kids have been known to.
Let's say, let's just
the business is real to them. Damn
to them,
it.
yeah. In the backyard, will fucking torch a chair. True story.
So PJ wasn't having it.
Yeah.
But I will give credit to Jericho. I didn't know what we were going to get. I said, is this going to be a watered down type of, what are we? And then we had the setup the week before. We had the Archer Moxley match.
Okay.
We had forks involved to the forehead. So I said, all right, maybe they are going to let this thing go. I'll at least give credit to Jericho. Jericho had absolutely no business being in a match like this. Doesn't need to be in a match like this.
No.
But credit to him for having a Nick Gage match. This was not in any way, shape, or form whatsoever a Chris Jericho match.
No.
He took everything that was coming his way. For what? I don't know. But it was like Matt Cardona at GCW the weekend before. Didn't need to do it. Didn't have to.
No.
I don't know. Everyone wants the Tommy Dreamer. He's hardcore. I guess. They want the credibility. They want the instant stamp and approval of the fan base. I don't know.
The whole Nick Gage thing, I know he had the dark side thing, but it was the lowest rated dark side because no one knows who this goddamn... Yes.
Was it really the lowest rated?
It was the lowest rated of this season because no one knows who he is. No one saw him on WWF TV or WCW or ECW or Impact. Nobody knows who this guy is except for the the diehard wrestling fan, and I know for the online
death
match fan. Yes. Yeah. So I understand that, but the cross appeal, nobody knows who the hell this guy is.
You're watching this match, dude, and even the crowd in attendance didn't know what to think of this shit.
No, they don't. And
you had maybe a few people raising their arms up in the air, but the crowd didn't know what to do. You had people being stabbed with glass in this match.
Yeah.
Light tubes involved.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the blading with the pizza cutter as the picture-in-picture showing the Domino's spot going on.
Yeah.
And my big thing in this match was the glass, dude. Glass is one of those things, glass, fire, stuff like that. You don't know what that stuff's going to do.
You don't.
You don't know. We get a spot where
now,
Jericho...
I assume it's sugar glass. I hope to God they rigged some of it, but I don't know. They like to be so damn hardcore.
Well,
I hope they use the sugar glass at least.
We get the spot where Gage is in the corner on the second rope. Jericho pulls off a Hurricane Rana that sends Cage through this glass. Mm-hmm. Now we got glass everywhere. And more light tubes are being involved in this match. I mean, it was just blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Finally, after somewhat being pretty much dominated in this match by Nick Gage, because, again, as I mentioned before, Jericho had a Nick Gage-type match. Mm-hmm. He eventually hits the Judas effect, gets the 1-2-3.
Which is ridiculous.
That prompts MJF.
In this kind of match, a back arm elbow wins the match after getting stabbed and gutted.
Oh, we didn't mention, too, within the first, 30 seconds.
Yeah, come here.
Gage swiped him on the arm, and he was already
voluntarily.
Yeah. So MJF then proceeds to come down from the commentary, come down the ramp a little bit, and cuts what is clearly somewhat of a ripoff of the CM Punk pipe bomb as Jericho lays in the ring a la John Cena during the pipe bomb, and says that the third Labor of Jericho match will have two stipulations. Number one, Jericho's going to have to win the match with a move off the top rope.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
And number two, his opponent will be someone that he had mentioned in some promos past. Juventud Guerrera. How old is Juventud now? We got to look this up.
Juvi, I would have to say, is probably... Well, he was young when he...
Gosh. Remember they took the mask off him, and man, did he look like a baby.
Yeah, I would have to say Juvi probably 48.
Well, let's see.
I mean, those guys were young on the Nitro days.
Absolutely.
So 48 maybe, because he's up there with the Ray and.
Juventud looks good, man. So anyways, next week for Dynamite, we are going to have a match of Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera. 20 plus years after they were on Nitro.
That's the problem.
On the same network.
Again,
Juventud is now 46 years old. Mm-hmm. Looks good. There you go. AEW Dynamite, folks. Your take on this episode.
Well, you already know. I'm not happy with what the main event was, because I think just the other guys, the tag team match should have been there. But it was what it was. Crowd was great. It was great to see that crowd. Fantastic reaction in North Carolina, Crockett Country. I know they paid a little homage to him backstage as well. So I mean, it was good to see live crowds, who they're getting on, who they're for, who they're against, and all that. And it's, all in all, decent episode. The main event fallout, I am wondering though for the next week, because I know you heard from somebody who hasn't watched a wrestling match in a while, sees Chris Jericho getting gutted like
some of my friends, some of my female friends who are huge Jericho fans from growing up, and even today with Fozzy and stuff, they figured they'd tune into the match and they go, this isn't wrestling. What is this? This is like people being assaulted with weapons. Like what is this? Well, that's what you got on Dynamite. All right, on to WWE news. Brock Lesnar came into the headlines over the week sporadically here and there after there were rumors out there made about Brock Lesnar's next move. Rumors started that said that Lesnar had signed a deal with a company that is not WWE. Wasn't clear. There was nothing of AEW reference. It seemed to allude that maybe Brock was looking to return to MMA, UFC. In an update, because there were rumors saying these were coming from reliable sources, but in an update, there's apparently no truth to any of those rumors, as Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer said that also Andrew Zarian as well. Got to give him credit. Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast said there's no truth to this as well. And it was noted by Meltzer that Tony Khan has never even actually had a business discussion with Lesnar. They've never even talked. And those closest situations said that Lesnar, like it was 100% inaccurate that he was ever going to sign with AEW. They've never met or anything of that nature. Zarian of the Mat Men podcast added that AEW and Lesnar have spoken maybe once in passing, but it was nothing serious. So there you go. That's where it stands with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar right now is a guy that's, if you're Tony Khan, for shits and giggles, we could give him a call, but realistically, I know if there's anyone off that roster that I know that I cannot get, it's Brock, because there are very few people that Vince McMahon is going to actually bid and go above and beyond to make sure that they stay in his graces, and that's Brock Lesnar. He's one of them.
And there's a key piece there. Paul Heyman's a WWE.
Absolutely.
Paul Heyman is like
if
the
Paul
link.
Heyman's not going, neither is Brock Lesnar.
Correct. Yeah. If you do not have Heyman, you're not going to get Brock. You're just not. Yep.
No. With the WWE, it was announced that they and Blumhouse Television are tag teaming on a limited series about Vince McMahon, the 1994 criminal case that was brought against him when he was accused of supplying his wrestlers with illegal anabolic steroids. The United States of America versus Vince McMahon. It's currently in development as a series. It's the first ever scripted portrayal of any period in the history of the company. It's never been done before. We've never seen anything that talks about the history of the company.
Yeah.
And it is the first ever scripted portrayal of McMahon. And it's also going to have, I guess, in this series, you're going to have some, as they call it, legendary WWE superstars of the 90s. So are we going to get a part in this where Hogan takes the stand and he calls Hogan a liar?
Are we going to have Nails on the stand as well? And he assaulted me in Green Bay. Yep.
So the series, it's going to be, as mentioned, the 90s. That's where this whole thing happened, and it delves into the time where, at the time, New York Post writer Phil Mushnick was always crapping and pooping on Vince in the New York Post. This eventually caught the attention of the FBI and the U.S. Attorneys General in New York. And that brought a criminal case against McMahon for allegedly supplying these steroids to his wrestlers, to WWE talent, WWF at that time talent. And the company was near bankruptcy. They were doing pretty bad. McMahon, he declined a plea deal, and he ultimately stood the trial and declared not guilty by a jury. And McMahon himself is going to be an executive producer on this project. So there's no way that Vince and WWE would, cotton ball or cotton candy this would they? They would never fudge with the facts in the story of this series, right? I mean, they control the narrative. They would never abuse that, right?
Right. And it's kind of funny, too, because I know Darkseid later on this season is going to have an episode about the trial, and I know they got Jerry McDevitt, the big lead attorney, on it.
Right.
Talking about it. So I find that very ironic.
Still the top lawyer
very ironic that now they'll eventually put their spin on it, how they want it portrayed. And look, it's a hell of a story. I'm looking forward to the documentary on it. He beat the government.
He was facing jail time.
The damn federal government, which never happens. Yeah. Just about. But they're going to really fluff the hell out of it, of what actually is facts and not facts. Because, hey, the wrestlers were taking steroids. They were. It just, Vince wasn't saying, here, Here you go. Take it. We know what he wanted. He wanted the big bodies. They know that. They bulked up. It's just what it was in the time.
Yeah, Backlash back in the day for that. They've been also receiving their fair share of backlash these days as well with the current product.
Yes.
Significant amount of backlash for the Zombie Lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash back in May. His daughter, WWE Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon, touted the promotion during the Q2 earnings call with investors as successful. Well, she said the zombies at Backlash, it was very successful, and it was over. And we know this because you said your kids, it was over with your kids.
It was. And what is the, Stephanie's title? Chief Brand Officer. So it was successful, I guess, because Army of Darkness did very well on Netflix.
Or Army of the Dead.
So, I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah, they had the wrestlers dress up as zombies. They served as the lumberjacks. That was the match, Damian Priest and Miz match. That's where Miz tore the ACL.
But it was eaten alive at the end of the goddamn match.
Yes.
Then showed up on Raw the next night after being mauled to death.
Yeah, the tie-in for Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Starring former WWE superstar Batista. Now, according to multiple reports, the company got a 7-figure payday from Warner Brothers for the Army of the Dead sponsorship package. Nick Khan apparently spearheaded that whole thing. Apparently it was for more than $1 million, although no one's really saying how much exactly it was worth. But according to Stephanie, she said the results spoke for themselves. WWE generated more than 500 million growth impressions that night. It saw 25 million content views across their digital and social platforms. And then she also touted how 3 of the 14 trending topics from that night were directly tied to the Army of the Dead movie. She said, quote, the cultural impact and disruption during and after WrestleMania Backlash played a significant role in the film's quick ascent to becoming one of the top 10 most watched movies in Netflix history. You know what? They probably would have made even more money and gotten more views on their product had they not have laughed at Batista when he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing they're a little, they're happy with this, but yeah, if you guys would have helped promote that, you would have made a hell of a lot more money than I know they're touting Netflix money. You would have been making Marvel money, which you want to make. And I don't know. I mean, it's great. She thought it was great they were trending. Do you know why they were trending? Because people were putting on, did you see this bullshit? So I guess negative
she left that part great. Out, right?
Totally left that out.
Natalya revealed that she's going to have to undergo surgery after all to repair her right ankle, the injury that she suffered on Raw. This was during the match where both her and Tamina were facing Doudrop and Eva Marie.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she suffered the injury. She's on the match with Doudrop. She had to quickly tag out of the match, and they had to call an audible. She was unable to put some weight on it. She had to be helped to the back. She had to undergo an MRI later on the week, and in the update, she said that she was going to have the surgery. She flew down. Actually, the MRI, I want to say she went down to James Andrews in Birmingham.
Well, according to Meltzer, she had the surgery yesterday.
Okay, so she did officially have. Okay, James Andrews. Yeah. Okay, so it is believed that as of right now, they're not going to strip the tag team titles off the two. That she'll probably be off TV for a few weeks. They're saying that it shouldn't be that severe of an injury and that she should be back. So I don't know. We shall see with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough break because they were actually, they're those two have, worked so hard for the company throughout the years. It's nice that they're recognizing them as champions. So yeah, I would hate to see an injury take the, little shine off of them that they're giving them right now.
When it comes to her cousin, WWE reportedly had plans for a feud between Harry Smith, aka Davey Boy Smith Jr., and WWE NXT UK champion Walter.
Ooh.
So we had mentioned a couple of episodes back that Harry Smith was working a dark match there at SmackDown.
Yes.
We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if he had signed a deal. Well, apparently he had agreed to a deal in March. He signed with the company back in April. And so after his dark match before the July 16th SmackDown, Smith, and it's actually on the WWE YouTube channel, he cut a post-show promo for the channel and confirmed that he's back. It's been 10 years. 2011 was when the company had released him. And that was him coming off the heels of being tag team champs with TJ Wilson.
Yeah, that's
was
right.
Natalya's husband. But so it was revealed that he had signed with the company back in April. He was heavily recruited to come back by John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations. And everyone involved was told to keep the signing quiet until he debuted, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and which they also told Smith to stop working indie dates at that point. So the original idea for Smith was for him to make his return and debut him on the NXT UK brand, making him the top babyface superstar there, and setting off a feud with Walter for the NXT UK title. But COVID, unfortunately, nixed those plans. So Smith was brought to the main roster after Laurinaitis pushed hard for him to be there on SmackDown instead of NXT.
Oh, hey, maybe wanted to be on the NXT.
Or actually,
UK.
yes, Laurinaitis, Vince, it says here. Vince wanted Smith on the SmackDown brand. But okay. Grew up in Canada, grew up in Calgary, but everybody knows who his father is. So he is Canadian and British.
Yep.
And so, yes, that would have been nice to have seen.
It would have
the crowd would have, out of respect for his father, he probably would have been the top babyface.
And two, big guys going at it. I mean, Walter hasn't had, he's had some great matches, but, fuck Davey Boy Jr. in him, that would have been a hell of a start, I guess, or program to lead up to. On the main roster here, I'm like, I hope they don't, just lose him in the shuffle again.
Well, that's probably what's going to happen. Yep. They actually have plans for him over in NXT UK, but no. Yeah. You get to be on the main
You were going to be on
roster.
the top. Yeah. I mean, probably a match a lot of people would want to see, and now we're going to throw you in the 24/7 championship. You're welcome.
Crime Stoppers of Tampa is right now currently offering a $5,000 reward for information on the theft of WWE items at the ThunderDome.
What?
Well, back in June, it was reported that there were items they had on surveillance. They had someone clear as day, and they still haven't made out who this person is, walking off with duffel bags of stuff.
Okay.
The University of South Florida Police Department, where the ThunderDome is on the campus of, they made a tweet asking the public to help identify the man who was caught on the video stealing the items from WWE's ThunderDome. It was revealed that some of the items stolen: 3 WWE title belts signed by various superstars, a cornered ring pad, and the Celtic cross pendant owned by Sheamus. So if you have any information, gentlemen, Nate, PJ, please contact Crime Stoppers of Tampa.
I think I can identify the picture here of who it is. Can I get this up here? I'm learning how to, high def resolution things, and I'm trying to get this image, and I think I might pass the phone over to Nate here if I can get it on here. It's still grainy enough, but it looks like the hell with it. It's not working.
I'm curious where we're going here.
I thought I saw who it was, but God damn it.
Okay. PJ continues to look through his phone. Any of you out there that can hear us?
I know who. Nate, show him this picture. I found out who the culprit is.
Okay.
Just show him.
What do we have here?
Producer
Nate's running this over.
I finally know how to visualize it. That's who it is.
Oh, the Repo Man.
The Repo Man is the man. The Repo Man is the guy. That's the photo. That's the high-tech photo. He's the guy.
Barry Darso's backing gimmick is the guy. Of Repo Man.
The Repo Man. That's what the mask was. That's the guy. That's the duffel bags. And now Vince will make a character. He's going to come back. That's Davey Boy's new character.
Okay.
You're the UK Repo Man. You're going to steal dogs. Oh, that'll go over great.
WWE Raw. We tried to hold this off as long as we could. Here we are. WWE Raw. This was a episode, another 3 hours of the worst wrestling show on television. Show starts off with Nikki Ash, who kicked off Raw, coming off of her cash-in of Money in the Bank on Charlotte Flair. She comes out and cuts a promo about self-confidence and talked about her cashing in the Money in the Bank contract. She always wanted to kick off Raw, and this is a dream come true. Then we get Charlotte Flair coming out, and Charlotte hits the ring, and she was ready to heel it up, boy.
Yes,
She is
she was.
followed by Rhea Ripley. And the long and the short of it is that these three are basically going to be at least in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. I still have this inkling that it's going to turn into a fatal four-way with Becky Lynch returning, but we shall see. Charlotte spent the majority of the time making a mockery of Nikki, as
As she should, yeah.
as she should have, and saying that, hey, if you're on the Today Show and Al Roker's interviewing you, he's never going to take you serious as a champ looking like that. Basically shitting on the whole gimmick, basically, because Charlotte's so perfect.
Yes.
With that in mind, though, we get a match set up for later on the night of Charlotte and Nikki. That was going to main event Raw. Next up, we've got Damian Priest, who, like the rest of us, is really tired of watching Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo go at it every single fucking week.
Yes.
So he decided to beat Sheamus's ass himself in a non-title match, of course. I remember coming to you and I said, why are they touching each other? This is clearly the SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
Whether it's pre-show or not, this is going to be a SummerSlam match for the U.S. title. Damian Priest was the right guy to send at Sheamus.
Yes.
That's why Sheamus had a belt, was to get it ready for someone like Damian Priest.
Yes, it
Or
is.
to have matches with Damian Priest.
He's the placeholder.
We have them in a damn non-title match, of course, because we wouldn't want it to be too exciting when they actually fight for actual fucking stakes at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
But
now
anyways,
we'll have them for
Priest
the next
wins
3
match.
weeks. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the problem. We're going to have them
And
now.
then you're gonna
face.
get the SummerSlam.
Yeah, which will make no sense. You are absolutely right when they should not have touched.
Next up, we get a tag team match of the Viking Raiders going at Raw Tag Team Champs AJ Styles and Omos. Again, because it's Monday Night Raw and we give you nothing but rematches.
Yes.
This match was predominantly Omos. Styles came in at the end and did his thing. And I told you, I said, I can't tell when they're in a match if they're supposed to be the heels or the faces, because Styles and Omos, they are over
big time.
People like them.
They were not expecting that. They thought they had the big, bad giant and AJ
Shawn Michaels
heel.
and Diesel combination.
Nope. People are loving it. Yep.
People like them. Next up, we get Jinder Mahal, who says that he's going to sue Drew McIntyre for assaulting Shanky with a chair the previous week. I don't think that would at all be a criminal matter. We've grown up for the last 20 plus fucking years watching people get assaulted with chairs, and not one time has anyone ever brought it up as a criminal matter that needs to be solved in a court of law through a lawsuit.
Where's Harvey Wimpleman to?
Well, would this would this be more of a civil suit?
It would be I guess if he wants damages, he wants civil suit.
Anyways, McIntyre went on to beat up both Veer and win the match by DQ. Then he takes out Mahal's lawyer. Mahal now has a lawyer.
Yes.
Hits him with a claymore. I'm just ready to move on from that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we
could have been a good feud, and we did this.
We get the tag match of Eva Marie and Doudrop. And they lose a non-title match to tag champs Natalya and Tamina. This is the match that we talked about. Natalya unfortunately hurting her ankle.
Yes.
This match is basically costed up when Alexa Bliss' stupid doll Lily appears on the
Careful
Titantron.
what you say.
No, that's right.
It's behind you now.
Yes, Lily appears on the Titantron to mock Eva Marie. This, of course, this whole thing, it's just, okay, we move on.
We're selling dolls at WWE shop.
So we get our last two NXT World Champs.
Yep.
Get them the previous week on Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. They both lose.
Yep.
So what do we decide to do? Well, let's have a battle of the losers, pal. Tonight, it's going to be Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee. The crowd was not feeling this fucking match at all.
No.
The crowd was pissed.
Yeah, this should not.
A lot of people were pissed.
This was their first time they met. I know we're not supposed to remember. This is the first time they met since Lee dropped the championship.
Yes, because apparently we want you to take NXT seriously.
But
they're
enough.
Not developmental, but not enough. That's why we're taking off the NXT title reigns off Charlotte's number.
This made zero sense.
We're not going to make mention to the fact these guys that it was Lee who lost to Cross that put the title on him to begin with.
Yeah,
we're not going to make any mention of that.
And Lee,
even though they're on the same network the next night, around the same time slot.
And Lee is getting big pops from the crowd on the entrance, getting to the ring and all that. And for whatever reason, you're still not buying into him.
This is a match, according to the reports. This was supposed to be a rematch originally. It was going to be Karrion Kross versus Jeff Hardy again, in which the reports are is that Hardy was supposed to beat Kross again. Hardy gets COVID.
Yes.
So Kross couldn't get the win back if he was ever going to. I don't think he was going to. I don't think he's going to get any big wins until Scarlett's there with him.
Well, I thought that was maybe the rumor of the SummerSlam match, Hardy and Kross.
Okay.
It's like, well, that does nothing for
So he's losing to Jeff Hardy, respectfully, with all due respect. Hardy's a Hall of Famer, but he's losing to Jeff Hardy. But he's going to be back on TV the next night on NXT.
As a champion.
As the champion
of that, yes.
Yes, so that was the battle of last week's jobbers. Kross beat Keith Lee in the match. Submission. So just so we're clear, COVID, Jeff Hardy, Karrion Kross, Keith Lee.
Yeah.
But Hardy jobbed to damn near everybody on the roster.
Yes, he did.
Over the last year.
After coming out of a great program with Sheamus.
I can't make any sense of this shit.
None of it makes sense.
You can't make this up.
Yep.
Well, WWE Creative, they can.
They will.
We get a tag match of Retribution that we had not seen in weeks.
Here they are again, folks. Remember,
taking on Mansoor and Mustafa Ali,
the former leader of that group that he put together.
Yes, there's no mention of that.
Don't mention that, dude. Bringing chainsaws to the damn ring.
Moving on. So they get the win against Retribution, by the way, and Mansoor's trying to get the good graces of Ali, and this is something that's going to go nowhere in a hurry. All right, so before Bobby Lashley could turn down Goldberg or Oldberg's challenge from the week before, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin comes out to complain that they didn't get buried enough when Lashley kicked him out of the Hurt Business earlier this year.
This was bad. This whole thing.
They get a handicap match between Lashley versus Alexander and Benjamin. Lashley beats them both.
Dumb.
And we move on.
Dumb. Yep.
John Morrison beats Riddle in a match where Riddle was heavily outnumbered with, you've got The Miz, got AJ Styles that you had to worry about. You had Omos that you had to worry about at ringside. Many references to semen were made in this match and after the match ended. The Miz skeeted all over the announcers with his dipstick. Styles nearly killed Riddle with a Styles clash after the match. That looked dangerous.
Yeah, it was.
They couldn't get that thing straight, and it took a little bit. And people were still wondering where the hell is Randy Orton as all of this is going on.
Yeah. And Riddle, I mean, they were building. I thought he was over on that Raw a couple weeks ago when he was fighting for Randy and all that. I thought, it's time to elevate him up to a bigger level. And now we've got him down here. Now, if he's, throw him at Styles or something like that, that would be awesome. But Morrison, I guess. I don't. It is what it is right now.
We get a match of Reginald and R-Truth over the 24/7 title. Reginald defeats R-Truth in the ring where Truth wore a microphone the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I love truth talking, but that was, I mean, it's an old...
Which is how they should do it every match now.
It's
just let R-Truth just do it with a mic on.
It's an old Lawler technique, from what I understand. He used to do it in Memphis sometimes. At times we would announce his match, but it was not good.
The greatest commentary of all time for someone in their own match is still The Rock.
Correct, yes.
Commentating as he's whooping Mankind's ass.
Yes. He's a Rudy Poo candy ass.
Yes, you get what you get out of a original match. You get a bunch of flips. He botched a couple times during the match as well.
We blotched in the, he cleared the ring off the trampoline, but then he went on the top rope and did the flip, and then all of a sudden he tumbled right in the Truth, and Truth just started laughing.
Surprised he didn't blow out his knees jumping over the ropes to the outside to escape the jobber chase at the end of the match.
Yeah.
We get Charlotte Flair, Nikki Ash in a non-title match. We forgot to mention that before, that this was a non-title match. So, of course, Charlotte beats Nikki. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, Nikki said she almost won, so she's confident that she can win next time. So you're already back to booking her like a loser.
Yeah.
Like when she was in these 2-minute matches, and she was excited that she was able to last long, even though she was getting her ass beat.
Yeah. In this, the gimmick is getting over with people, but then now you do this. And it's
they're going to do it again next week, too.
Yeah, and now it's
another rematch. There you go.
It's going to start getting old for people.
At least for this Raw, we actually got more matches, less silly-ass segments.
Yes.
They actually kept the fucking product in the ring.
Yeah, in the crowd pops and a live crowd. So, I mean, that's good. But they're only going to get so far with the live crowds here. And if they can get this creative better soon, it's going to hurt them.
Well, creatively, let's get to the better show, SmackDown. We got a big surprise during the show, but we'll get into that in a little bit. SmackDown. Well, we kick it off again. John Cena opening up the show, cuts a promo about how Roman Reigns rejected his challenge because he's scared to face him. Cena said that Roman's claims that Cena hasn't changed his gimmick is stupid. Would you want Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock to change their gimmicks, Cena says. He says that absence makes the heart grow fonder, which it does. Yep. But he's still no Austin or Rock, as great as John Cena has been all these years. Anyways, we get Baron Corbin coming out with the same shirt with the stains and shit on that he's been wearing for the last couple of weeks from the sauce can or the ravioli or whatever.
Trying to feed the kids.
Yep. He interrupts the promo, and they did some pretty funny, entertaining back and forth. I like this Corbin shit, man. I like it.
I do too.
Yes. And he was trying to panhandle Cena into giving him some money.
Why not? He's the Hollywood star. He's on every commercial.
Yes. He's in Suicide Squad. He's in the movies now. Yeah, so he's got money. John, you're rich. Yeah, so they do the funny back and forth. Corbin then got angry at Cena because Cena only had just a little bit of cash to donate to him. So he proceeded to turn heel and cut a promo on Cena and call him the Hollywood sellout. And Cena, he wanted to be in a movie. He was willing to do anything. Yep. And John said, we've already filmed Suicide Squad, so it's a little too late. He's like, maybe the sequel, maybe.
Yes,
yeah. So, Corbin cuts the promo on Cena, and Cena said that he was going to give Corbin something that he desperately needed, an attitude adjustment. And that got a big pop from the crowd. I thought that segment was really good. I didn't mind it. It was fine. We weren't trying to set up a match with Teddy Long coming out saying, hold on a minute, player.
Yep.
Tonight we're going to... No, we didn't get any of that.
We're going to have The Undertaker with
The Undertaker. Yeah, we didn't have any of this. So, as good as the segment was, dude, the next thing we get... Because, of course, we were going to get another match involving the Usos and the Mysterios. This time we had, I want to say, Ray versus Jay. Anyways, either way, it's the same matchup we've been seeing for weeks. And it's going to continue until SummerSlam. I'll never understand why WWE can't think of literally any other way to advocate a feud than to just have the same damn two wrestlers or teams fight each other over and over and over and over and over and over again.
That's
seriously, it can't.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you want to know who won that match, it was the person who was a guy on a team with his other family member. That's who.
That's basically all it is.
That's all you need to
lead
know.
up to the next one next week.
Bianca Belair, she comes out for an interview with Kayla Braxton, and they are celebrating her 110th day anniversary as SmackDown Women's Champ.
We're doing it by days now. 110th, just random days.
Well, we didn't start doing the day thing, I want to say, until CM Punk, right?
Yes. Now we do the day.
And then we did it with Bayley.
Yes.
But we were doing it, we started to throw it out there when they were around 200, 300.
Yes, when they were
not at 110.
Not 110.
That's a little silly. Yeah. But anyways, this gets interrupted by Carmella. And assuming that it's WWE, she must, she gets about 15 more rematches, being that she came out. She came out, she issues a challenge, and then that's followed by Zelina Vega, who figures that she's the only other woman on SmackDown. She came out to do the same, never mind the fact that she lost to Toni Storm the week before. Belair accepts Vega's challenge. Vega and Carmella then proceeds to beat her down. And this is the part that I wasn't too happy about. I'm like, of all ways to reintroduce someone, and now it was a part of a story being told, but I thought it could have been done a little better. Mm-hmm. No tease, no nothing. Outruns Sasha Banks. We haven't seen Sasha since Sasha lost to Belair at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Sasha runs out to make the save, picks up Belair. They hug each other. And it sets up a tag team match for the main event. Now, if this didn't tell you what the hell was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
This was a SmackDown as well. I felt a little... We'll get into it. Yeah, but everyone knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. We all knew it was coming.
Yes.
Anyways, Reginald pulling double duty for the week. He's on SmackDown. He's now going by Reggie, and apparently is no longer speaking with a French Caribbean accent.
Oh,
BJ.
Really?
Yes. He barely escaped the 24 title match, which there was a blooper involved as he's doing his promo on the back. The cameraman comes from out of the curtains on live TV, and we're starting to think, is the cameraman going to roll him up for the 24/7 title? Well, the cameraman realizes that he fucks up, runs off screaming. I'm like, you know what? They should just called an audible on the fly and just had the cameraman just roll him up. Screw it.
Give it back to him.
Instead, there's a match that's going to take place in the ring for whatever reason.
Why?
With Shorty G. He's accompanied by Otis. Reggie's gimmick seems to require that he be tossed out of the ring and land on his feet in every single match, which is only going to be trouble for his knees that are going to be shot in less than a year if we keep doing this. Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Paul Heyman. They all come down to the ring for a SummerSlam contract signing. Reigns rightfully points out that John Cena has been basically implying that he's better than Balor. They sit down. Now, this was a really funny setup, too. They make Adam Page and Deville get out of the way, and they replace his chair to the head of the table.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. So Finn Balor, he has a seat at the table, and Roman decides to talk to Balor and says, I don't appreciate Cena. He doesn't deserve a title shot, but you don't come out with the same lame gimmick, and you don't sit here and cupcake to the crowd and do all that. You are your own man. You are not John Cena.
Yeah.
And he says that Cena basically is implying that he's better than Finn Balor, and that Balor doesn't deserve a title match, that he wants a title match at SummerSlam, and that Balor isn't good enough to face Reigns for the Universal Championship. And Reigns said that it's a jerk thing to say. He told the crowd, you guys should boo. It's a jerk thing to say. He's right.
Yeah, he is.
Reigns proceeds to sign the contract and told Balor that he was going to get this beat down at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. So Balor was about to sign the contract as well when Baron Corbin runs into the ring to attack Balor. Corbin attempts to sign the contract, but then John Cena runs out to attack him. Cena then proceeds to sign the contract, hands it off to Adam Pearce. And looking at the contract, I mean, it just no one would ever sign a contract, a legal contract ever like this.
No.
But anyways, John Cena ends up signing the contract and hands it off to Pearce. So now in that roundabout way, that's what we now have. It is set up as lock, stock, barrel. It's in print. Signed, sealed, delivered. SummerSlam, it will be now John Cena versus Roman Reigns.
I guess it was a little clever, to intertwine the Corbin, I'm trying to do anything to get money deal with him running in like that. I mean, it was just silly, though, to think that Cena and Reigns weren't going to, go at it and, to use Finn Balor to get to that point, too. I don't know.
We ended up getting a 6-man tag match of Big E, Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, Apollo Crews, and the Dirty Dogs. This is mainly just to kind of kill some time on SmackDown. I think somebody won. Yeah, I really don't. I was just
care. I think Big E now has been the most 3-man tag team matches in the history of WWE. Yeah. It's just in the last 5 months.
In the next segment, Edge was supposed to actually cut a promo, but the show at that point, they realized they were running short on time. So this is where we just had Seth Rollins attack him during a commercial break.
Oh, during the break.
Yes. Yeah. Well, sometimes you make the argument that a lot of the action should be taking place on a commercial break. But yeah. So there you go. It just adds to what is going to be the match at SummerSlam between Rollins and Edge. All right, here we go. Tag team main event. We got Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair versus Carmella and Zelina Vega. This match was it was what it was. Typical tag team match. Banks and Belair, they defeat Carmella and Vega. Afterwards, Sasha continues to hug Belair, and they're dancing, they're this and they're that. We knew it was coming, everybody. This was the worst kept secret of the entire night. Sasha viciously turns on Belair, gave her the backstabber, put her in the bank statement, continued to say, "Oh, you thought I forgot. You thought I forgot." Now, ever since The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania, I feel like between the guy in the crowd with the jaw-dropping face and the Miz winning the title of the little girl, you remember her face in the crowd. I feel like everyone just does this on purpose now to get on camera. You had a lot of people the camera was cutting to making those faces as if we did not fucking know that Sasha Banks was going to turn on Bianca Belair.
Yeah. If you were not in the building, obviously you haven't watched wrestling in the last 3 months, let alone years, because you introduce her that way and how she came out, just running out early in the show, like you said, it's like, well, okay, this doesn't make any sense. And here we go.
So there you go. Yeah. So overall, this show wasn't bad. I mean, it was fine. And for WWE, that's usually a win.
We'll find out when the ratings come.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Another week in the books, folks. Slade,
PJ,
listen to us wherever you can find your favorite podcast. Look us up social media at Bush League MS Pod. Shout out to producer Nate, as always. Dizzy Course Studios, broadcasting here in the dungeon. Bush League, we'll be back at you next week. See you.